that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Oh, there we are, hiding down in the corner. How are you, folks? Hope you're having a good day. For those of you that were watching on my phone earlier this afternoon, it's wonderful, new phone, nothing works. Can't get the microphone working on it while I'm trying to do a YouTube from the car. Don't know why that is. Pain in the ass, to be honest. But anyway, we shall see what we shall see going forward, and hopefully life, the universe, and everything will improve with that, if I find the right setting or whatever. Anyway, I did try and do a little live earlier today just to make you aware of a couple of things. And before we get into tonight's show, we're just having a couple of issues getting Donna in, although she looks like she's just piled in now. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Wade Northausen to begin with in tonight's program. Now, Wade had a birthday last week. For those of you that are unaware, Wade has also had a stroke. Now, he had that stroke just after Christmas, and you can see him there. He's got a big smile on his face. Belinda there with him, of course, his partner. And he's currently in hospital, in a regional hospital in Victoria, country hospital in Victoria. And I've got to say, it's frightening. It's frightening. I'm worried for my friend, folks. I am seriously worried for Wade. Wade is a fighter. He's a very strong man, and he's doing everything he can possibly do to recover from this stroke. Belinda, his partner, is working tirelessly beside him, with him 17 hours a day, not just because she wants to be with him, but it's become quite apparent that somebody has to be with Wade practically the whole time he's in this institution that he's at, because the people who run it are not caring for him much at all. Now, I could go in and tell you some of the horror stories. They're not for me to tell you. However, what we do need to do is get Wade some assistance. Now, that assistance comes in many forms. The first form, and the most useful form that you can help assist Wade with, is meals, believe it or not. Now, I wrote a post up earlier today and put it on Facebook. Many of you will have seen it. Many have reached out to me and said, yes, we are prepared to help. Because Wade's stroke, and I'm not sure if this is the same with all stroke victims, but in Wade's case, he needs a special diet to recover from, because his body is not processing particularly sugars the way that it once was. So he has to have a no-carb diet to begin with. The hospital provides shit food, as you would expect. I don't think anybody has ever said, wow, what a great meal I get from a hospital. And I doubt they've ever said it in Victoria in the last 10 or 20 years. So whatever company provides these meals, provides a very basic service. And when you are a recovering stroke victim, the nutrition that you put into your body is all important, as we all know. Now, Wade has had a lot of people reaching out, including Barbara O'Neill. He is doing everything he can to recover from this. But at the moment, meals are the biggest issue. The hospital, here's how this hospital works, right? If Wade isn't in his bed when they deliver breakfast, let's say he's having a shower in the toilet or is having rehab or something, he's not in the room, right? He can't move himself out of the room. Somebody else has got to move him. They've got to get him in a lift out of the bed. So they deliver the breakfast, sit it on the table, and if Wade doesn't eat it because he's not in the room for an hour, they come back and take it away, and he doesn't get breakfast. If he hasn't been around there when they deliver lunch, he won't get lunch. And the dinner is not what you'd really call a dinner, especially for a big farming bloke who is used to eating, probably 3 or 4 good meals a day. They come in and feed him at sort of 6 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And he is not thriving. He is not recovering. He is not getting the nutrition he deserves. So we have to fix that. And we've had many people offer generously to cook and do a Pony Express run, if you like, out of Melbourne up to where he is. This is probably going to become much more difficult in the days and weeks ahead, given the other things that we're facing in the world, fuel prices being one of them, but only one of them. So, however, we've come up with a different plan, and I think that this one is something we can all get behind. If you would like to help Wade, particularly with his nutrition, I've spent the day today working to try and find businesses that can and will supply premium meals for him at a good price. And we will arrange for Belinda to be able to collect those from one or two businesses in Echuca and deliver them to the hospital. These meals have to be prepared with a recovering stroke in mind. So the people who are putting themselves up to do this, the restaurants, are really going to look after him. But that means that we need to pay for those meals. Now, the nice thing about this is that I've had a look on their menu and I can't find anything over $20. So this is really going to be able to help if you can throw a few dollars into helping us feed a proper meal, a nutritious meal to Wade, something that is going to give him the energy, the stamina, the strength to go through the rehab, which he needs desperately to get. There is a lot we could be talking about at the moment regarding Wade's healthcare, but at this point in time, it's probably better just to work on fixing what we can. And initially, the first thing we can do is meals. So what I have put up here is the Billboard Battalion bank account number. If you can afford $20, if you can afford $10, if you can afford $5, whatever you can afford, can you please put it into the BSB and account number that I have on the screen? The BSB is 803078, and the account number is 100110499. I'll say the number once again. The BSB is 803078, and the account number is 100110499. Any and all donations will be gratefully received. Belinda needs a bit of support herself at the moment. She is by herself. Wade doesn't have too much by way of family. And for those people who live in Melbourne and are very awake, you are very aware that outside of Melbourne, there seems to be a lack of that sort of awareness. And without ploughing too deeply, although I want to, without ploughing too deeply into the people in the health system, in the institution where Wade happens to be at the moment, it's clear they are not fit for task in a variety of ways that will disgust you and certainly have disgusted me. Now is not the time for that fight, but it's coming. It's coming. It is completely unacceptable what is being done to not just Wade. I'm sure this is happening to people all over regional areas, particularly in Victoria. In fact, if you need specialist care in Victoria and you, like Wade, are bedridden, you can't get out and travel, not without the aid of a, ambulance, you're stuffed. There are no specialists. Wade needs a neurologist. He's had one neurology consult, and the early one was when he had his first problem back around Christmas. That was a telehealth consultancy. Oh, it wasn't neurology, that was cardiology. He hasn't seen a neurologist. This is unbelievable. The excuses that the Victorian health system use are totally unacceptable. If we were to, and we have tried in Melbourne, major hospitals, major stroke units in Melbourne, no, he's not in our catchment zone. No, he's not part of this. No, we'd need a neurologist to stand at the end of his bed and write a note that says, yes, he needs rehab and he needs to go to a good rehab centre. And we can't get a neurologist to get out of Melbourne to get where he needs to be at the end of the bed to write that note. If you know a neurologist, folks, please reach out. We need a neurologist support. We need a lot of things. But right now, urologist and meals. The BSB and account number up once again for you there to help Wade. That's the Billboard Battalion account. And the BSB is 803078. The account number 100 110 499 100 110 499. And anything you can put in that account will be gratefully received. And I will have Belinda on the show at some stage this week. She will come on and give you a little bit of an idea of exactly the situation that's going on at the moment. Now, Donna has managed to get in, but just before she does, we're going to talk about the big major problems that are going to confront us quickly over coming weeks. Now, these are signs already appearing on petrol stations in Brisbane, and I'm sure they are appearing in other areas as well. In case you are unaware, I'm going to share a screen with you that will show you pretty much exactly our fuel situation. This is a maritime map looking at Australia. Anything with a red arrow on it, right? So these things down here, these are bitumen tankers. This one here is probably an oil tanker of some kind. Let me bring it up. Pop. No, not going to pop. Let's pick another one. Oh, actually, I'll go up here to Brisbane because I know there's one floating around here somewhere. These are off Brisbane, so there's a crude oil tanker there. If you look up here towards Mackay and Townsville, you'll see smatterings of these red dots. You'll see a few of them, or red arrows rather. You'll see a few of them heading up to New Zealand, over to New Zealand, up to Port Moresby. And of course, you'll see them dotted all over the world. What you do see is a great heap of them gathered together here around the Straits of Hormuz, or certainly out off Oman. Now, the Americans are meant to be supplying, according to Donald Trump, the insurance that Lloyd's of London have rescinded for all the boats in the world. The American government is supposedly going to be putting up the insurance required to get those ships through the Straits of Hormuz, and those ships will be escorted by American naval vessels to keep them secure. That announcement came out in the middle of last week. So far, haven't seen too many ships go through the Straits, and none of them have been escorted by the Yanks. Judging by the way all these ships are propped around the world at the moment, Lloyd's of London are still the key insurers of the world, as they have been for the last 300 years. And talk that Donald Trump is going to break that monopoly by getting the US government to take over all the insurance and then escort these tankers through the Gulf is meant to placate the petrol prices. And it may well do that, except we've got people in this country who are profiteering from it. All our petrol companies put the price up immediately, and it's continuing to go up. You can see we don't need to have rationing at this stage. There is no need unless you all go out and start panic buying. However, I did hear something this afternoon that would, in fact, probably cause me to go out and buy a bit more fuel. And that is the fact that mining in this country cannot stop. Cannot stop. If it stops, all the money coming into the country stops. So be guaranteed right now in mines around this country, very big holes with very big fuel cells are being dumped or made and created right now. And those fuel cells are being dumped into them, and the mines are buying hundreds of thousands of liters of fuel. Hundreds and thousands of liters of fuel. If there is going to be a problem with domestic fuel supply, it will be because the mining companies have taken it all. Be aware of that, okay? So watch out for it. There's not much we can do about it, but just be aware of it. And maritimetraffic.com, for those of you that want to go and have a look at the ships around the world. It's quite interesting to see what's traveling where and how big. I mean, there are a couple of boats here at the moment that have got 20 million litres, floating around in them. But those sort of things last, the east coast of Australia, maybe a week. There are more boats coming, and certainly there are some heading back to get filled up. There is no guarantee that they'll get any oil out of the Gulf. They can go to South Korea. They can go to Singapore. They can go to Malaysia. They can go to Thailand for us. But those places are also under a huge amount of demand. And when you put Australia in the big scheme of things against the rest of the world, our fuel demands, and therefore the amount of money that they can make out of us is minuscule compared to countries like the US, even though they are still refining their own fuel, unlike us in Australia. But other countries going to use a lot more of it. China, for instance, and they can pay a lot more for it and guarantee that top dollar is paid for every drop that's in every one of those ships' holds. 200 million litres. I think I said 20 before. It's 200 million litres in one of those moderate-sized carriers. So watch out. It's a common. And, of course, when the fuel prices spike, the food prices are going to spike. The supermarkets are going to spike. It's going to happen all around the country. If you haven't got your own veggie garden yet, what were you thinking? Get out, go and buy the seeds right now to last you a year. You know, you don't plant them all now. You got to plant them all at different times of the year. But start looking after that sort of stuff now, because it's going to become very expensive, folks, the longer that Donald Trump says he's going to look after the insurance for the shipping of the world as they go through the Straits of Hormuz, and doesn't, because that's exactly what he's doing. Absolutely nothing. All right. Let's get on to the main topic for tonight. Now, chemtrails have been something we have all been discussing for years and years and years. We've railed against friends and family, trying to teach them the difference between chemtrails and contrails. And isn't it amazing how hard people find that to understand? But we are succeeding, I think, in a great many ways. What we haven't been able to succeed in doing is telling people what's in the aerosols that are being dumped on us, and is that part of the vaccines that we've all been subjected to, willingly or unwillingly, in the last 6 years. Now, Donna Pike is someone who's very familiar to the freedom movement. She ran a magnificent show down in Coffs Harbour a couple of years ago now. I took John Wilson with me down there to it. He spoke. I drove. And it was a wonderful day, a really interesting evening, a lot of really great speakers. And Donna has been focused on particularly chemtrails and what they're putting into us for some time. So thank you for coming onto the show, Donna. You sent me an email last week that was, well, in email terms, 64 pages long. It blew my mind. By the time I got halfway through it, my eyes were spinning, my head was aching. There was all this technical jargon, and I was thinking, well, this is very important, but how do I understand it? Thank God we have you. Thanks for all your effort.
No worries, Carl. This is pretty much groundbreaking stuff. I've, as you know, been doing this for probably 15 years, like some of the long haulers. And I don't think I've ever come across something so detrimental to solving a lot of the questions that we've had and giving us the answers, and also remedy to fix what, you know, we're dealing with. So I did come across this a long time ago, but it didn't connect then, because like you've since had the vaccines and the chemtrails and that after. So I did see it. I was on a website where there was only a few people maybe that were aware of this initially back in 2007, which is quite a long time ago. We're talking, you know, good 19 years ago at this stage. So when you think about this happened then, they've been planning this for a very long time, which most people know. But this is the story of where it eventuated from, and how it happened, and what they, you know, how they passed it and how they got it to happen. Now, just to start off, they had a guy called Joey. There was a guy called Joey Lombardi, and he got put on an assignment to do a video on this, and he signed up, which he did regularly for quite a few years, with a unit called Combat Cameraman, which is an army thing. So he was a good cameraman, and he would sometimes do contract work with them, and they regularly used him. And he did that for about 6 years, or just under 6 years. And then it changed all of a sudden when he leaked this document. And he obviously went on the run then. He was eventually arrested in Argentina, but we'll get to that. So he was on an assignment that seemed a bit bizarre, because originally he said he was just doing a document of a war hero that came home from Iraq, but then pretty simple, normal chain of command. And then all of a sudden it was altered, and then for the first time in his 6 years career working in this position, he had to report to a CIA agent named Fleming, as well as an Army colonel called Harris, who from that he gathered was a big wig intel guy in the Pentagon, right? So this was something that he didn't normally deal with. So he thought that was a bit weird, especially for such a boring sounding assignment, which was just to do someone's war hero story about, their experience in Iraq. Then he received, as part of that, a package in the mail containing some DVDs, a stack of documents, and there are a lot of things blacked out on the document, but you really could understand what it was about without those items. And it was all relating to something called FunVax. That's what they called this, right?
FunVax.
Anyway, FunVax, and in the long run, when we get to it, it's a vaccine for fundamentalism, which is what I call it, FunVax, right? So it's short for fundamentalism vaccine.
Right. Wow.
Now, there were 2 videos that were in there. One was just of a party room and people in the room saying FunVax is a go, and the cake and the celebration that they got it put through. And then there was another DVD footage, and that was from a lecture hall in the Pentagon, and the video was date stamped the 13th of the 4th, 2005. So someone was holding on to that for a little while. He received it the 2nd week of February in that year. So on it had one guy from the other video, the part of the video giving a presentation that went about an 8-minute clip. And this guy thought must have been like a bit of a scientist, was talking about genes and things. And that's what you get to see in that video. That was, some people they tried to debunk the video and say it was just all conspiracy, nothing, but it was actually real. Now, the VMAT2 gene was discussed in a group of men in suits as well as various military uniforms. He talks about religion. He shows 2 MRI brain scans, and he says, that the inhibition of the VMAT2 could over time cause a person's brain to shift from a religious brain structure. They scientifically call it phenotype, but basically you can change a religious brain to a non-religious brain structure by targeting the VMAT2 gene.
So hang on, let's just get this straight. You're saying that the VMAT2 gene is inside us, and that's what is affected by whatever is being sprayed.
Well, this is just his comment, right? I'll explain that now. What the breakdown. But this is his comment. These is his words. This is his stuff. It was in his name. Right. This is his report, straight off the actual site, right? And what happened and how he got involved, right? So that's where it came from. Okay, just to tell you, that's where it came from. This is the document which you can download. I believe you can still even. I don't know if you can get that.
It may not pick that up, but you've sent me the document, and we will have that available to download too. Yeah, stop FunVax now, okay? And it's just the full story and everything. That's all there. And then you'll see the people that were on that website that were doing it for Joey, because he was a bit worried and scared about what he was doing. They've come out and said, look, each of us know Joey personally. We can verify that what he claims is 100% true. He sends us pieces of evidence and leaks it through us because he's on the run. He's gone, basically currently always on the run, trying to, after he's leaked the documents. And they did arrest him eventually in Argentina. They said the last time they heard from him was a certain date that, that was it. But he got the documents out, and the information's out there. These people verify it, and there's a lot to say. Now, there's 13 pages of this scientific report. And you can see parts of it. I'm just going to bring it up.
Yeah, I've given you the full PDF.
I'm just going to bring it up.
Bring it up if you can, because what it's saying in a nutshell is that we have a VMAT2 gene in the brain, and I'll sort of read this bit first. Now we've got it up. So the experiments are. The project is ID 149AZ2. Okay, you can see that project ID there. From the period, now it's American, so the 1st of February to the 1st of May, right, because they do the dates backward. This report does not contain any quantitative data, blah, blah, but it does. It says it'll see the summary of experiments. So this is like a 30, 40-page document. So when you get to the actual pages where the summary, all he's done is leak the summary, the really important bits. When you go further down that, into the next bit. They show you here that they use. I'll stop for a sec. Sorry, before you go too quick. If you can go back. Sorry, I made you jump there a page. If we go back, it'll say here. Okay, stop there. In summary of recommendations, data experiment between that, and it says. The object of this phase of Project ID 149AZ2 is to prepare a viral vector that inhibits or decreases the expression of the VMAT2 within a human population. Human, right? Population. Now, the VMAT2 gene is something they sometimes call the God gene because it creates our hormones in our body like serotonin, dopamine. So it's stuff that makes us angry, sad. It's hormones, okay? Rolls us up, gives us, eagerness to do something or, and so they target that VMAT2 gene, and it's a little bit like a hormonal lobotomy. So,
wow.
Yes. And so they've done these on these monkeys. And so they've got two different monkeys they're doing, the rhesus monkeys that they do this on, and they've been injecting them. And they've also done it on human population experiments before they, as well, it says it in here.
I believe they've rolled this out in Africa. Was
possibly,
that where the initial testing was?
Oh, it doesn't say it was Africa, but it does say they did test it on the monkeys and some of the other models. If it goes down here, it says the objective was to prepare the viral vector, right, and to use it on the human population. Now, currently the tests are only scheduled for animal models. Infection of the rhesus monkey, according to the timeline set out, begins as early as the 2nd of July 07. So we're talking about July 07. A clinical team coordinated by blank blank will be brought in to supervise the experiments once the rhesus monkeys are exposed to the virus. Now, the virus is called the vesicular stomatis virus. The timeline for the human trials and field tests will be determined by whoever, and the role will be support only. Upscale of the virus will be handled by blank. The coordination between the research and clinical manufacturing group is outlined in the report due on the 15th of June and is in the process of being prepared now. So we'll go on to the next one. So that's what happened. So what he did was this scientific presentation was in front of the Department of Defense, and originally it was a military, designed as a military operation. So FunVax was a secret military operation, Department of Defense, where they would be able to go in and vaccinate all of the countries that might be suicide bombers, Al-Qaeda's, whatever, and take out their will to rise up and be resistant, have a resistance against whatever, because of their and they were selling it because it was like, okay, because they're religious, they're willing to suicide bomb for their religion. But if we knock out that gene, we knock out their empathy or their anger or everything, because we can lobotomize them emotionally and with their hormones that produce their emotions, right?
So what you're saying is essentially if we can do this to them, they'll not care about blowing themselves or anybody else up. They won't care about God or their God that much.
Yes, and they won't start these groups and be retaliant. And this is how they got it through. This is how it got approved, okay? And if you watch the video, which is not a very long one, it's quite short, that clip. I don't know if we've got time, but with the Department of Defense.
I haven't got it here, Donna. I'm sorry. I haven't got it loaded up.
I've got it somewhere.
Oh, have you? Yeah, well.
I can do it. I can do it in a bit, but I'll just explain. They bring up the two brains, and they and he's trying to say, like, if you scan the brain, you'll see the difference when we talk about a religious context. This brain, you see the hormones coming out in this scan, and this brain, nothing. So some people react and others don't. And the ones that do are these, ones that could be potentially then terrorists or whatever, because they're overly passionate or whatever. Anyway, but you can imagine that anyone could be targeted. This could dumb down the whole population and make them all controlled zombies. So technically, anyway, so Joey, obviously that flagged in his mind, this is scary stuff. And he decided it was something humanity needed to know about, because this was potentially quite bad and could be used in ulterior ways and motives if the wrong people got it in the wrong hands. Or if the intention was lied about, which we know happens all the time. they say it's for one thing and do another. So he did leak it, and lucky he did, because he may have given us the research we need now, hence that this has happened, to work out how to go against what they've done and the formulas they've used and how they've done it. So the knowledge is quite important right at this stage. So if you go back, if you scroll back up a little bit, Carl, because we've just got to go back. Stop there. Thank you. Because the vesicular stomatitis virus has ability to infect brain cells, and it has a two-step life cycle, the cyclic infections in mammals and transmission by insects. So it's transmitted not by insects. It provides a starting point to design an airborne virus that has the ability to infect the respiratory system, COVID-19, as well as brain cells. The newly designed virus, which is obviously, synthetically designed in the lab to be way worse than what it is, contains...
don't they call that optimization?
Oh, dear. Anyway, newly designed virus containing the typical VSV, which is a vesicular stomatitis virus, genome, is a homogeneous region of the VMAT2 and a gene from adenovirus that allows attachment to the Coxsackie adenovirus receptor, which is the CAR, on host cells. Now, I actually looked into that bit even deeper, and that's the part that is scary, because if you look at the printout for that, it goes into myocarditis, pericarditis, cancer, everything that is happening now. Like, it's linked totally 100%. And it says this design allows the virus to infect the respiratory tract where the cyclic infection occurs, and then subsequently diffusion across the blood-brain barrier into brain cells, which is where the zombie apocalypse happens, and you saw the CDC come out in the army when they flipped that little brochure, if people saw that video about the zombie apocalypse. And this is why we've had all these stabbings and these shopping centre crazy people, because what happens is we're all different. We've all got different DNA, and we've all been affected differently by the chemtrails and this viral thing. So what happens is, and whether we've been out while it's been spraying and been more infected than others, so what happens is it targets the brain, not only the respiratory system, but the brain, and it takes out the hormones. Now, if you've had an imbalance in hormones, you go nuts, you go crazy. Yeah. So you can be angry, you can be sad, you can be depressed. We can have massive amounts of depression, people with depression. What have we got? Depression everywhere. And or you can have people going a bit nutty and doing strange things like stabbings, knifing, shootings, crazy. And how much stuff have we had since the vaccine in that type of, situation? Tons of it, okay? You never heard about it to the tune of what we're hearing about it every day now. So it's far worse. So that the imbalance in that hormone doesn't just cause, brain fog and other stuff and issues. It actually causes lots of other problems, okay? And interim problems. Now, it gets a little bit worse, because one of the rhesus monkeys that they actually tested on, it lost the will to eat and starved to death, and it self-suicided. So if you actually do this, if we look at it the way it really is, it has the potential to just take people out, certain people that may already be a bit vulnerable to this, which I don't want to go too much and say too much about that, because we might be in trouble. So the newly designed virus contains the typical VSV genome, right? And allows the attachment to that Coxsackie adenovirus receptor in the brain. So you need to just Google that yourselves, look into it a bit more, and go into that. Now, 600 strains of the virus were tested in duplicate on 1,200 mice. Mice were inoculated via needle, and brain tissue was examined. And 3 weeks after inoculation, the VSV, and this is the one that they used, the 287, had the least amount of endogenous VMAT2 protein, and will be further tested to verify that. The pop-ups are there. I
beg your pardon. Sorry.
That's all right. They have verified that it is the most efficient in the 600 strains. So if you go down now, because that particular VSV, which is the vesicular stomatitis virus code 287, which is the lab changed one. That's the one they use. So 6 methods of vesicular stomatis virus dispersal was tested. Now, this is about the dispersal. This isn't about the virus. A high altitude release. Hello, chemtrails. Water supply release. Don't drink the water. Remember?
Yep.
Insect transmission. Bill Gates,
You
Mozzie.
will eat bugs and be happy.
Bill Gates, Mozzie release and all the other stuff. Diffusion by a ground level object such as a car. This is a bit scary because that means diffusion from a stationary object such as a bottle or infection of food supply such as cattle or produce.
Yep.
So they're not holding back. They're saying they're going to infect the food supply, all the ways they're going to do it and can do it. Now, we know about Bovaire. We know about, infected food supply stuff. We know about them vaccinating the cattle, which happened. I rang the guy that actually was doing the clinical trials here in Australia, and that was way back, So who knows that that's not going into the cattle, infecting the brain cells, infecting the cattle. We're eating the meat, so I don't know about that. But anyway, for high-altitude tests, 30 litres of highly concentrated virus, 10 to the 11 PFU by mil, had a targeted 1 square kilometre live land rate of 150 PFU to square metre. Stability tests in water showed that 10% of the virus was still viable after 14 days. So it only lasted 14 days in water.
Wow.
At 50 days, 100% of the virus was non-viable, so they couldn't find it after 100 days. There's bits of it after 14, but not after 100 days it was gone. Diffusion by a moving object showed great promise, so car exhaust, whatever. 10 to the power of 4 PFU square metres was detected at 500 square feet from a moving object within 15 minutes. And release took place from a vehicle driving at 25 miles an hour, releasing approximately 10 to the power of 11 PFU every 30 seconds for 5 minutes. So you remember seeing in China those big trucks spurring out all that mist everywhere through the streets?
Yeah, fogging machines. Yep, I do.
And all the fog in the US, and people couldn't breathe. And
they said they rolled it out under the San Francisco fog into the
and no one could breathe. And they had all the asthma attacks everywhere. Yeah. Well, this says it gives you asthma. Anyway, the other thing is, so the release took place in a vehicle, blah, blah, blah. So they did all this testing. At the end of the day, depending on the wind speed and all this stuff and what they did, they decided that the two things were aerial spray was the best and most effective. So it said to examine the dispersal of the VSV through the food supply, cows were injected with 10 to the power of, I think it's 4 there, PFU, 8 days post-injection. The tissue of the CNS had the great concentration of the virus at an average of 150 of brain, in brain tissue, of grams in brain. That's a lot. Anyway, so we'll go down. So mRNA, vaccination of the cattle was effective.
Yeah.
But there's so now it says here the VMAT2 homogeneous knockout monkeys die within 3 days. How's this for you? So they're now saying that they can target specific races.
Yeah, this is a targeted gene that we're talking about. So
you're talking about homogeneous style monkeys against the heterozygous monkeys, right? So you're talking the homogeneous knockout monkeys, they call them knockout because they die within 3 days, while the heterozygous monkeys live what appears to be a normal lifespan, which is very, huge. Anyway, the VMAT2 is responsible for packaging the dopamine and other monoamines into vesicles that will be released into the synapse, which is, your hormones. Dopamine disruption, this is here it is, has been shown to damage dopamine neurons, which is why I said people go, acting all the craziness and stuff that's happening.
We'll get the crazy reactions. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the supermarket stuff and shootings. While the KO monkey was alive, they did not feed, and upon autopsy, it was concluded that they died of starvation. It appears that they had no will to live.
How often do you find that with people in hospital? Where they're being fed shit from a hospital And you go in one day, they're all very happy and things are going well, and then the next day they're a bit depressed, and then the third day they don't want to be there anymore, and the fourth day they've given up on living completely.
That's a little bit of a different can of worms, because they've just put legislation in, I believe, where you used to have power of attorney if your loved ones, like I know, my dad got put on end of life and I had to get him out, and he came out and got discharged, and he didn't die, but they were trying to kill him. Yeah. And I went through that situation, as you know, but and maybe even targeted so because of who I am. But anyway, and Dad was also very Freedom. He was doing it for 40 years, so most of his life. But what I found was that they were, there was money incentives there to put COVID on the death certificates. They were getting payouts from the hospital. But what they did was, with my dad, was they put him on end of life. I gave him sits of colloidal silver all night long because I could stay overnight because of end of life. And by morning, he was 100% better. And then I said, get him off. And then they wouldn't. But I had and they did a medical cognitive test, and they said no, and they failed him, so he couldn't tell him he didn't want to die. But then I said, well, you're buggered because I've got medical guardianship, get him off. And they still didn't. They still said, well, I want your brothers to come in and to be unanimous. And they still tried to keep him on for hours later so he'd fail again. But he didn't. He didn't fail, and he got him out. Then they tried to give him excess fluids to drown him overnight. We got him through all that. He went home. At the end of the day, he went home. And I'm still taking that doctor through the HCCC for medical, negligence, because
malpractice or negligence.
Malpractice, because he's put him on end of life when he obviously could have been healed, and he just wanted, and he kept trying to keep him on end of life because he didn't want to have his decision overturned, because then it would be, he would get him in trouble. So he actually made it worse because he didn't take him off straight away. He just kept going to the playbook. But we got him out, and then they put him in a medical coma. And there's other stories, and they eventually, the third time they got him, but they put him in a coma one other time after that, and we got him out again. And it was horrific. And now they're saying though, that they've just brought legislation in where the hospital can make the decision if the person's too ill and not well enough, that the medical guardian doesn't matter anymore. They can supersede the guardian. That's pretty scary.
That is frightening.
It is.
But it falls in line with the total engineering of what they're doing. Yeah, by all means, let's get back to this.
Because that's really going off. Yeah, but it's another situation. I'd say that if you've got anyone elderly, make sure you've got a medical guardian form, because I'll tell you what, you're going to need it at the least. But anyway, so with this, the monkey developed concurrently with the KO monkey. The VMAT deficient monkey should have had expressions of the VMAT2 80 to 90% lower than the average wild-type monkey. So that's a lot of reduction of the VMAT2 gene. That's a big gap.
Dumbing down.
Yeah, very effective, takeout of the VMAT. And they call the VMAT2 the God gene because it's somewhere where your body makes hormones, and then those hormones turn into feelings, So there's something like you can see. Scientifically see on a screen as hormones excreted, but feelings are invisible. They're there, about them. It's like air, but you don't see it. So that's why they call it the transition of emotion. Anyway, go down a little bit further, and you'll see that it was done in a facility in San Diego, California. So this brief summary of minutes, and this was on the 21st of the 3rd, meeting commenced at 10:07 a.m. in the facility in somewhere, San Diego, California. The people present were blah, 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 blah. So the current update of the experiments were the VSV287, the review of the timeline, the proposal for a suicide gene, the dispersal methods, which are the chemtrails and air, testing.
They get it to us,
testing efficiency in the field, inhibitors that may target a specific population. Right? There's your.
This is just bringing so many memories of mine of why Russia attacked Ukraine. They specifically went into tunnels and a complex in one of the Ukrainian cities, and what they found in there was a lot of this information, a lot of this gene technology, gene therapy, gene manipulation.
Eugenics.
Yeah. And those were all American-controlled labs sitting on the Russian-Ukraine border. And the
Yes.
Russians went in because they had intel that said a disease was being created that was specifically going to target a certain kind or type of Russian along that border area.
Yep. And we now have the new virus coming out. And you remember Bill Gates saying, you wait till the next one. That'll get you.
You know, the bastard's hiding out in Western Australia at the moment.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
That's a bit scary.
We know where you are, Bill. We know where you are.
Oh, gosh. That's wow.
And he is hiding out. I mean, he's hiding out on his yacht, but he's hiding out. So
wow.
He doesn't want to be anywhere near Europe or America at the moment. People might.
Well, Australia is one of the biggest. I mean, you just look up Rachel Vaughan, and she said her father was the one that took the 3 Beaumont kids, and they have ignored her. And you look at Fiona Barnett, child trafficking. Both of them are Aussie child traffic victims. Tell all. That's why they got the whole 99-year suppression order, the Wood Royal Commission order done because of some of the testimonies. And then they'll all be dead before they get heard, because 99-year suppression order is, the life of someone usually, so they don't ever get held to account. But anyway, we need to now go on to the next bit. So you can see there, let's just bring that down just a tiny bit, Carl, that bit we just said there, so people can just look at that again, because it's really important. The review of the timeline, the proposal for a suicide gene. Now, what did they bring in? They brought in supported suicide for people that wanted to end their life. And there was that new legislation that, you could go in, and there was assisted dying. It was called assisted dying, right? So they were trying to, and people that are depressed or get on drugs these days. And this is where this suicide gene, I mean, it makes you wonder how they even got this passed. Like, let's be honest. If you put this in front of someone, how the hell? Anyway, I don't want to go too far because I'm just in shock. I mean, I don't know how. But anyway, dispersal methods, we went through that, and the testing efficiency in the field, all that stuff. Now, when you get to this, what did they do at all? What was it all? We had PCR tests going everywhere. Now, they actually use PCR tests, quantitative PCR, of all the 600 animal subjects could be done to ensure that the data from the ELISA experiments showed a decrease in the endogenous VMAT2 was occurring because of the viral vector, not a very natural variation from the actual vaccine that they gave them or that they aerial sprayed, that it was effective and it was working. So they could tell if you'd had the vaccine or the chemtrails or shedding or whatever the reason, if it was actually working in your body to do what they wanted it to do or not.
God.
That's what the PCR test was for.
That's what the PCR test was for. Yep.
That's what it says, right? And then it says of the 600 variants of the vesicular stomatis virus tested, the VSV287 had the greatest decrease of endogenous VMAT2 within mice. So that's why they used it. The VSV287 had the biggest impact on the VMAT2 gene in the brain and taking out the biggest hormonal lobotomy.
Taking away the mouse's emotions.
Yeah. However, this may not be the case for human subjects. So it says the VSV should be released on human subjects by the clinical group, and the clinical group should be involved with this ASAP.
Wow. So they've been working on that for 10 years or even longer than 10 years before. So
listen to that, right? 600 strains of VSV, not one, 600 strains of VSV should be retested on human subjects by the clinical group, and the clinical group should be involved with this ASAP.
Can't happen fast enough.
On human. Now, the Bradford assays should be done on infected subjects to determine endogenous VMAT2 concentrations before and after infection, not just after infection. So basically what they're saying is to check out, the effect that it's had on someone.
How effective it has been, yeah.
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 Mice or other subjects should not be injected with the virus, since this does not test the actual dispersal method. So what they wanted to do, they wanted to see, once they did the aerial chemtrailing, or they did whatever other methods of vaccinating you, food, beef, whatever they did, test you after that, so that they could see what effect it had on you. If it was stronger than this or stronger, if it was easier to do the meat and vaccinate you and eat it, or chemtrails or water, contaminate the water system, or what was the best way. So they used every opportunity and source of what they had and how they could get this into the human population and test what was the most effective and quick and easiest way to do it, and what the results were on human beings, right? Then it says the use of Funvax could see an immediate effect within the target zones, and a way to measure the rate of infection should be examined and tested before the virus is released. 2 or 3 of the following methods should be used to approximate efficiency. The results in the mass inoculation should be proportionate to the rate of infection and could be quantitated by either behavior or biological tests. Now, the behaviors, they list the behaviors as a significant decrease in suicide bombings.
Yep.
So this is, they sell it like, it's going to be wonderful, decrease in armed resistance and conflict zones. In non-conflict zones, effectiveness could be measured by a decrease in people attending religious activities, such as the kubas or noon prayer. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but noon prayer, and a measurable increase in communications, telephone, email, and other forms of communication that express discontent with religion or God.
Wow.
Discontent.
So this is designed to separate you from your faith.
Yes.
As well. To have you lose faith in your faith.
Yes.
Because they want to give us a new God.
Yes.
Their God.
Yes.
My God, Donna, this is just horrendous. Horrendous. Biological indicators.
Yeah. As shown by the VMAT2KO experiment on mice, in 25% of the subjects exposed to the vaccine, there's a noticeable side effect. Benign, essential, I can't even say it, spasm. It's like tests need to be done on human population. But if we assume that this side effect remains the same in humans, we can measure a sample set for the spasm and calculate the rate of vaccination. So they're basically saying the side effect that they saw in the monkeys, if that's reproduced in the humans, which they figured it would be, that would be able to be a sign that the vaccination was working. I mean,
that is. I'm just trying to get
harming them was a sign of successful vaccination.
So blepharospasm is a neurological movement disorder characterized by involuntary, repetitive, and spasmodic contraction of the eyelid muscles, causing forced blinking or permanent closure.
Yeah, but when it's really like, what were the people doing?
All of the above.
When they were vaccinated, what happened?
Well,
the body's tremored. The whole body tremored.
Went into shakes and shocks.
Because they vaccinated it and it went all through the body. It didn't just go in the brain. It went through the whole blood stream, and the bodies they went into these shaking things where they constantly couldn't stop shaking. Didn't you see the videos?
Neurological movement disorder characterized by involuntary, repetitive, and spasmodic contraction of the eyelid muscles, causing forced blinking or permanent closure. It actually goes on to say it can extend to further difficulties throughout the body.
Yep.
It goes on,
Yep.
So, standard most attractive treatment is a periodic injection of Botox to fix it. So your muscles can't shake anymore. That's how they fix it.
And they can't. That's only for like an isolated twitch, like not a whole body uncontrollable body movement. They can't Botox you enough to stop your whole body from going. Anyway, that's just wanted to take on that because everyone was seeing that the people saw those people shaking uncontrollably and not being able to. And sometimes they'd shake so much they'd go into a coma, or they'd black out, and then they'd come out and they'd forget that what even happened. Because I know a lady, I did an interview with her, and she shook uncontrollably, and then she blacked out. And her husband used to video so she could show people what was going on with her body. Anyway, we'll go on. So this notable side effect and tests needed. See what it says here. Tests need to be done on the human population, but if we assume that this side effect remains the same in humans, then we can measure a sample set and calculate
how many people are shaking.
The vaccinate. Well, that's how they're now saying it's horrific. They're saying, that'll give us a way to measure the vaccination. This would be an accurate way to estimate the rate of vaccination, but it requires an examiner to be on the ground with a willing sample set that is representative of the population that's being targeted. Neither of these criteria may be possible in the most contentious target zones. But then that's how they did the PCR test. A blood sample of militant casualties or deceased civilians would provide the most accurate estimate of the rate of vaccination. A PCR test could be used to determine if the sample contains the viral elements that are associated with FunVax.
God. So your PCR test, when you got your stick shoved up your nose, told them whether or not you had enough FunVax in you or not. That's why you only ever needed 2 jabs, but then there was a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, because there are still stupid people sticking sticks up their noses saying, I haven't had enough FunVax up there yet.
The vaccine for fundamentalism. The ratio between positive and negative results would allow one to calculate the rate of vaccination. How many people did get vaccinated and didn't? That would allow, and it was affecting them. Because the viral elements have been found in many cells of the body once the vaccination has occurred, the biological samples from being subjects may be covertly taken, secretly taken. This may include eating utensils, hair follicles, toothbrush, Q-tips, undergarments, cigarette butts, toilet paper, cell phones, condoms, napkins, drinking water, clothes, pillowcase, bedding, tampons, dental floss. In other words, it affected your whole body. And they didn't have to because people voluntarily went and did PCR tests anyway.
Yeah. But essentially what they're saying there is it tracks everything. It's a DNA test. It does everything that DNAs do. They can get all your DNA from all of those places.
Yes.
So,
but they also will know totally if it's affected your DNA because that's what they're doing. It's affecting you.
Yeah, I want to see how much it's affected you. Well, they need to know how many more flights to put over us, or how many more fears they can put into an audience.
Yeah, it is horrific stuff. Anyway, the stability test concluded by the group led by Blank used the vesicular stomatis virus and not the virus that is currently being tested, the VSV287, the airborne variant of the vesicular stomatis virus that had the greatest decrease in endogenous virus, so the VMAT2. The tests that should be repeated using the VSV287 are high atmospheric tests, chemtrails.
Yep.
Ground level diffusion tests from both stationary and moving sources.
And we've seen the fogging machines in the mountains, the snowy mountains and all that where they've used it. So it's come out at ground level.
Yes.
And I don't think I can talk too much about some trucks.
We better not say anything more. I don't know if you want. We've actually, I don't know. I think we're pretty much blown out of the ballpark already. But anyway, brain autopsies from the monkeys on the 4th of April, the KO experiment, knockdown experiment, should include MRI brain autopsies in addition to the test already planned by Blank. Now, that was a specific experiment to see what they needed. The knockdown meaning kill them, experiment how much they needed to actually do someone in altogether. A monkey just decided to not eat and die, right? Self-suicide. Or just to actually take them out, depression, just get rid of them. The cell lines used in all cell culture studies should be the HCN-1A line only. This will be the standards in all FundVac studies going forward in the research group. Media and growth protocols are available in Appendix 2. The alcohol inhibitor experiment suggested by blank blank, the research group meeting on the 21st of March should be started as soon as possible, and the obstacles in designing the inhibitor described at the blank meeting should be difficult to overcome. The design of the containment inhibitor is likely going to be the limiting factor in terms of having a product that is field ready, in other words, to go, basically.
Yeah.
So that was just what they were up to. Now, it says the vesicular stomatis virus is typically transmitted by insects. However, as stated in the summary of FundVac's objectives dated on the 25th of May, an airborne virus would be the preferred route of infection. And they've picked the strain named VSV 287 that's been designed to spread via air, but more studies at that stage wanted to be done to conclude its efficiency in both animal and human subjects being contaminated by air method, by dispersal by air. Dispersal via air is possible with the VSV 287. However, there is no accurate data to show the infection efficiency at that stage. They still wanted to put it out there and then, get the tests from the human subjects and animal to see how infected they were after they'd done the aerial dispersal. If you just want to go down a tiny bit, it says high-level atmospheric tests have been done with other viruses. So they'd already done this with the vesicular stomatis virus, not that strain, but just others. And they had been shown to disperse at an acceptable rate with a moderate viability. However, no tests had been done on the VSV 287, but they'd already done it. They'd already put it out in the air and done it. The viral genome of the VSV 287 had been already shown to integrate into various brain cells at the VMAT2 locus. So that's what they wanted. The endogenous VMAT2, that's what they were targeting, yep. So they needed to make sure they had a strain that got into the brain. The endogenous VMAT2 expression in the brain had been decreased as shown by ELISA, which is ELISA. 52% of the mice had a decreased level of VMAT2 that was 40% lower.
Wow.
That's half of your emotion.
Yeah, that's half of you gone.
Yeah.
My God. This is,
and we wonder why people aren't standing up and they're not fighting against their
and
countries
waking
and
up.
their governments and waking up, but not. Well, I said that's why I said when people used to go, some people's vaccinated, their personalities are changed. Well, your personality change when your hormones change because your mind changes, and you're a bit like a zombie, and it's like the zombie apocalypse. And they had those zombie ads on ads on some of the ads for the car ads, and there were zombie things going on. Well, because They told the army, be ready for some people maybe being a bit crazy after this because there could be this a zombie apocalypse from the effects. They knew.
Yeah. And they warned us during one of the ads you're talking about aired during the Super Bowl half hour. So they wanted everybody to see it.
You get the car, she drives in and there's zombies all around and she just turns the car around. Anyway, hang on. Listen to this, though. This is what's a bit scary. We haven't got 48% of the infected mice had VMAT2 proteins at a concentration that wasn't just 40%, between 40 and 100%.
Wow.
So the 100%.
Nearly half the infected mice had lost more than half their personality. Yes.
So 48% of the mice had lost between 40 and 100%. Now the 100% are the knockout, like they're gone, right? They're going to they're going to say, I don't want to be here anymore. So that meant that's where the variation was in humans. You could have this variation. So people that were really affected would be way more depressed and suicidal maybe, or go and do crazy things to other people, not just themselves. some people would just be like, and if you got cancer, you didn't want to go and fight your case and say, well, I want to sue the government, the vaccine companies, because there was, contaminated SV40 and that wasn't disclosed, and there was no proper informed consent because I didn't know half this shit was in there. So
exactly.
And you have got a court case for that, and you have got class actions, but where are they all? Where are all these sick people going to court over, their stuff being contaminated and their body being totally raped with drugs, and abused? I mean, if you got abused or your child got abused, you'd be screaming. But they just did that same
Where
thing.
are the parents? Where are the parents of the children who died playing soccer on a Saturday morning or netball?
I know.
This is all you need, folks. This is dynamite.
This is the document that is going to, if this doesn't open up the courtrooms, I don't know what will. In fact, if this doesn't go viral, and if it doesn't, and we need you all to share it like mad, by the way, because all my pages got taken down, and I've got no Facebook pages, no X pages, they're all deleted, as you can imagine. So it was pretty serious, but this is why they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know about this. So we've got to get this out to people. And if you can download the document off the Voice of Freedom website, we're going to say that now before this gets taken. Share it through Messenger, share it through Rumble. I'll put this on my Rumble channel. Hopefully that won't go down. I'll just link it because I've still got Rumble. If you go to Donna Pike 2450 Rumble and just search for Donna Pike 2450, you'll get a copy of it. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to find ways to get this out to everybody. I've sent it to the politicians. I've sent it to the senators. I've sent it to as many people as I can, people in America. So if they ignore this, then it flags them big time. Yeah. It really does. People that don't do something about this, I don't trust anymore, because this is the golden,
Well, it's the golden BB, isn't it? It shows you where it began, and it
where
shows
it come
you
from,
when it began.
the intent, how they were going to disperse it, what they were going to do, how they were going to test if you had it, and it lines up exactly with COVID-19. And if you have a look, we go back to this because it even tells you that the side effects in the monkeys are different, but in humans, it's a respiratory virus.
Yeah.
Which is COVID-19. I mean, it was a respiratory. They're in
How
hospital.
many people died of a respiratory
couldn't breathe.
infection?
So this is it affected the lungs, and that's where this exactly says this. It says it in the document. It's exactly COVID-19 and how they did it, why they did it, and how they sold it to become an army military bioweapon and then used it on the public overall, all countries. So it's full on.
How is it they can say here, Donna, that inoculation with the VSV 287 in mice has no serious side effects, and the side effects that do occur have been shown in less than 10% of animal test subjects? Side effects include benign essential blepharospasm. Human subjects have not been tested, but side effects are projected to be similar. Well, they're saying there are no side effects. Based on the findings, it has been shown to be safe with minimal serious side effects, and has accomplished 8 of the 9, I suppose, objectives.
Benchmarks. Go back and I'll say benchmarks laid out in the summary of VAX objectives, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, down the bottom, including the 2 most important objectives, which is an airborne virus that can insert a modified VMAT2 gene into the brain. Listen to that. An airborne virus that can insert a genetically modified VMAT2 gene into the brain, and a significant decrease of expression of endogenous VMAT2. And they're saying that they're not side effects. They're saying they're intended to do that.
That's intended, yeah.
Intended.
So it's not a side effect. It's
so it
intended.
Can't be a side effect if that's what they want it to do.
Yep.
It's like
only human trials can determine if the VSV 287's effect on religiosity, which is the religious, and in spirituality. Yeah. My God, they've been targeting our spirituality for 30 years or more.
Yeah. And it says the results obtained thus far show minimal health effects, none of which are life-threatening or debilitating. Well, millions of people have died. Primates should be infected with the VSV 287 to determine the effects on systems more similar to humans. So they didn't actually really know the full effect on humans because they were obviously testing with the monkeys first. Dispersal methods are still being tested. High atmospheric dispersal or dispersal by ground level moving objects will be the most practical. And then it says, listen to this, once the initial dispersal is accomplished, and that be via vaccination or aerosol or whatever, infection will be transmitted person to person. Shedding. Yep,
The
there it
clinical
is.
group will examine the rates of a person-to-person transmission. How fast you shed.
Yes.
My God. And they will optimize that so you shed the most. My
And
God.
it gets worse. There's another part down here we have to note. Can't miss it. So the complete knockout of the VMAT2 in mice as well as monkeys had shown to be lethal. Future experiments, lethal meaning they died, right? And that's not a side effect, by the way. That's intent. That they know that's intentional. That's what happens. So they're not considering it bad. They're saying it's just an effect that happens, right? Future experiments should be examined. The effects of a VMAT2 knockdown, and insertion of the VMAT2 mutations, alleles in monkeys. So they're saying that they want to investigate more.
Yep.
What kills
People
them all
aren't dying
together.
fast enough. We're going to give you another one that's got a bit more in it, a bit more juice in it.
What's more effective for the knockout gene? What makes them die? What ticks that box as well? And what's more effective in that area? Not just the standard. Exactly. Yeah.
Unfriggin' believable.
Yeah, I know. It's just scary, really. You just want to sort of cry. But anyway, but at the same time, this is like really important stuff, and we've just got to get it out there as fast as possible. So
we're showing dates here of 2007, but if you were paying attention earlier, you'll see some of this research began in 1997. So, this has been going on for a long time, folks.
So it's got here. This is they have quarterly reviews, right? So this was one of the quarters, which we said in the beginning was like up to March to May, and then they have another quarter. So this one was the outline proposal for field efficiency, update on the confined inhibitors, autopsy of the VMAT2 monkey brain tissue, report on the updated VSV 280 dispersal data, which was chemtrails, meeting between the research clinic and the manufacturing groups now started to discuss reports submitted on the 15th of June. Provide the VSV 287 virus to clinical groups for primate studies, report on the VMAT knockout in monkeys, which is then they died, update the confinement inhibitors, report on the airborne VSV strain, inhalation study, and whether it was effective enough, the Department of Defense meeting, and the transfer of responsibility now over to the clinical group. Meeting with the clinical group and transfer of materials, and the quarterly review submission. So the Department of Defense is actually listed there, working with the clinical group, the scientific research group, the DOD.
Yep. Unfriggin' believable.
Then you'll go into now. This is how they. This is the clinical stuff. So you see Johns Hopkins University, biolevel safe 1, and then it says frozen. It has to be shipped frozen. Now remember, the COVID vaccine had to be really cold.
Really cold. Yep.
Well, there you go.
Below freezing.
Yep. Well, this had to be frozen. You can see on it, it had to be really, really cold. And then it says organism, Homo sapien, in brackets, humans.
Neuronal.
And then it goes down and it says neuronal. So like it's
neurologic. It's a neurological.
Yeah. And an organ. Brain. Look at the source, organ, brain. Yep. Cell type, cortical neuron. And then it goes the cellular products, and it just goes into what they're putting in and using, and it actually tells you the culturing. So if you go down DNA, and then it's got a subject, it's got the DNA profile, and then it goes down further, and I'm not a scientist, so I'm doing my best here, but 18 months of age, the age is 18 months, the gender is female, and the cells stain positive for a number of neural markers, including neurofilaments, proteins, neurospecific, analyte, whatever, and then codes and whatever. So they're testing it on, I believe, on subjects there, but I would have to get someone that's more scientific to go over it. But these are some of the reports, I think, that have come out of a 18-month-old female.
I think we need to get this to Dr. Brian Artis.
Yes, I want to get to everyone. We need to get it. If you've got any contacts out there for anyone in the scientific field, doctor's field, give them all this stuff. Forward my email across to them. If they want anything extra, tell them to contact me, but get it out there as quick as we can.
I haven't spoken to Billy Bay in a while, but this would
Billy's
help Billy
received
Bay.
it. Billy's
has he?
received
All right.
Yeah, I've given it to lots of people. I've actually given it to people in America, everyone. Andrew Bridgeton. I've given it to, I've given it to a lot of people. Scientists, all the scientific groups, I've emailed all of them. Whether they pick it up and see it and go, oh, that's what that is, and read it, is because they get probably hundreds of things and they just got to actually read it and look into it. But if they do, they'll realize, look at the temperature there. It shows you what you've got to keep it at, frozen. It says, fetal bovine serum is added to it. If you read in the green, it says, propagation, and it says fetal bovine serum, add to it, and all the stuff that, which some people don't want to have. It even has the EDTA to rinse it out and wash it and to do the whatever they do for it. But if you get down, if you go down further now, keep going, because that's sort of like how to store it and do whatever. Is that the end of it?
That seems to be the end of it.
It might be the end of it then. Okay.
Yep, 13 of 13. That's all I've got there.
Okay.
Very sorry.
All right. Yeah. All right. So that's basically.
That's enough to get people really talking, and get them excited. So Vince hasn't been able to put this up on our website just yet. So if you want a copy of this tonight, folks, email me, carl@vofhq.com, and I'll send you the copy we're using here.
You can also you can also contact me if you've got some private numbers or special people you wanted me to get in contact with. Coughs Freedom at protonmail.com. So COFFSFREEDOM at PROTONMAIL.com. If you want to contact me, and I can send it to you, if you want first copies of the whole lot, because it's a very big email, as you know, Carl. That was huge.
Yeah.
Because not only do I send the documents, but I also send all the videos, all the interviews that Joey did, the live interviews and the live ones, and the stuff that he says happened, and also the way to search some of the registered scientific data. So if you want to go in and see the patents and stuff on some of the things that link to that type of study, there are all there as well. So there's extra stuff that you can't just do in a video. There's a lot more involved in it. So if you wanted to get into it as a scientist or someone that really wanted to get into this and start researching, now I know in my heart that I had to do this, because if we don't have this information, there's no way on this earth we can fix the vaccinated and the people that are shedding and the clots in the veins. I did an interview with John O'Looney years ago when the clots came out, and he showed me the veins, and we talked about the clots, and then we talked about all the immigration and the people coming that might be militant agent. And he went off on another tangent, and he started doing extra podcasts and stuff on all different topics after that, not just the clots. But and I said we had secret Chinese police stations in Australia running their own show for their own citizens. Who has that? Could we do that in Australia? Could we have Aussie police stations, secret ones in China? I don't think so. So all this sort of stuff, but we need these, anyone can see this and go, wow, this is amazing. This is what's happened, and it's good to know. But if we don't get this stuff to the right scientific people that are, skilled enough to say, right, well, we can now know and see what they did, how they did it, what they used in these vaccines, how they did it. It was the vesicular stomatitis virus. We can now start working on how to fix it.
Yep.
Or how to
100%.
stop it. Or our politicians, why aren't they putting up a bill to stop anyone from spraying in the airspace above our country? Yep. The thing I got really cranky with, and I ran for certain political places. I did a federal candidate twice, local ones. Because I wanted to get in there and make a difference. I couldn't give a hang about politics, but I just wanted to I wanted to save our country and save our children. And I've done multiple things from festivals to Forest of the Fallen to you name it. But what I found was I put because Malcolm Roberts was saying, yes, I can see the chemtrails, but we need proof. We need proof. And I said, well, here, and I kept putting stuff on the website, his main page, and it was being taken off. And I had a letter from an Australian air base about it. I had little things that went up, but that was, missing, that was not real. And I'm like, they said this video wasn't either, but then they found the clinical data to match it. Hello. Which they didn't think people had, I suppose. But anyway, which is just go to the ballpark now, So anyway, so lucky Joey got the rest of it out. If he didn't,
that is amazing, and no wonder he's keeping his head down at the moment.
I don't know if he's with us.
Well, yeah, he's disappeared off the face of the earth. So whether or not he's still with us or not.
No, he was arrested in Argentina. They got him. I don't know, and this is a long time ago. His mother did find a guy at a wedding later on because she was trying to help him, and she asked him to help. Could he do something? And he started bringing out shirts and DVDs with the two brains and the scans and the pictures and it was going to do a disc that you could buy, and they were going to sell it for like $10 or something, and then the money would go towards helping him and fund for court to try and fight his court cases and to do whatever he had to do against what was happening to him. But that was a long time ago, and they shut that guy down. They shut him down. So Joey didn't have, unlike some people now, like Julian Assange and other people, Joey never had that help back then. People hardly knew this. He'd done this, you know what I mean? Like, this was early days. He was like the biggest, bravest whistleblower, and humanity owes him big time, basically.
Well, this document is exactly what's required, and if this document exists, there are others, and we just need the right people to ask the right questions.
This is what can take them to court as evidence. This is evidence. So this is evidence, and that's what we needed, was evidence, not just something they could say debunk, whatever. Clinical data that names places, times, experiments, outcomes, evidence. And if you look at the DOD or the CIA, they can get emails, they can get copies of all stuff. Those redacted bits, they'll know who they are, they'll know where they did it, they'll know, and that is the core root of where this all came from.
Absolutely.
So
Donna,
if there's anyone that's going to do the right thing, this is the document that can lock the lot of them up.
So what we want is anybody who has a way to contact anybody you think should see this document, whether it's Peter McCulloch, whether it's Brian Artis,
anyone. I need their details.
We need to send it out to everybody.
Liz Gunn, anyone that's willing, like yourself, to get it out there, do a podcast, because the other things, different people watch different podcasts, different people in different countries. Not everyone's going to see the same thing. So we need to make sure that as many people will do lives, and I'm willing to do it. I'm willing. Because, for as long as I can, I might be a bit like Joey, but I want to be able to do as much as I can, as fast as I can, and as concentrated as I can, as quick as I can, because that's what you do when you get this sort of stuff. It's either do or die and go hard,
Well, I'll be sending some texts to America as soon as I finish here, and there will be some late night conversations had tonight. This will be shared, I have no doubt.
Absolutely.
And yes, if we can get you on to help explain it, then certainly that'd be great. Donna, I can't thank you enough for your continued efforts, because they have been nothing but full on. I mean, I've only known you for a couple of years, but you've been going, like you said, for 15 years. Thank you so much for these efforts, and thank you for putting up with me not understanding half of what you send, and needing explanation.
I'll tell you what happened though. I sent this out.
This is the most important show I think the Voice of Freedom's ever had. I think this is the most important show I've ever done.
Yeah, and this is the most important data I've ever found in 15 years. That's what I said to you. I said, this is the pinnacle of my whole freedom fighting experience of uncovering, something that's this massive. I just went, oh, my gosh. And you know what? Yep. I woke up one day and I was asleep and I got up. You're welcome, everyone that was saying that. I got up and I said, oh, my gosh. And it must be like, would go to bed. And then I said, I've just put it all together. I've just pieced it all together. Funvax was the vaccine. So I did a quick live and I put a screen behind me and I just put it out there on my post. This is years ago, right? When I sort of, it all come together. And no one would really listen and no one would respond. And I'm like, people don't know, people don't care. Like, what's going on? But I think it was because they hadn't woken up enough to accept that level of attack on human society. Like, they thought no one's going to do that, and because they debunked that little bit of video, they're like, oh yeah, but they didn't understand how enormous this was. And I didn't do a thing like this. I just did a quick thing saying, and I didn't do it for public. I just said, this is a call out to all the scientists out there. Please look at the VMAT2 gene, the attack on the VMAT2 gene with the vesicular stomatitis virus. So I just basically said that. And I know Anna Von Wright in America, I got a phone call quickly saying that she tagged me doing that, because she knew I was on point right then. But it still just sort of sat there. And I'm like, come on, like people, why aren't people doing interviews about this big stuff, and they're talking about this and talking about that, but not really focusing on the bigger pictures and the bigger important items? Like, why aren't the people that they've got this information getting the platforms? Why aren't they being interviewed? I've been asked to be I've asked people to interview me. I'm not kidding, Carl, so many times for this, and they don't even get back to you.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
God almighty. Well,
yep.
I'm sorry it's taken me probably longer than it should have, but rest assured you have my complete and utter attention right now, and I will do everything I can to push this for you across the world. And my reach isn't huge, but
doesn't matter.
I do know pretty powerful people.
It's got to start somewhere. It's got to start somewhere.
So,
and I stepped out.
Share this show tonight. Give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, do whatever it is that makes this show get seen elsewhere.
Share it to every single person in your phone contacts. Send it out to as an attachment. If you can shrink it on, snap download or do something, shrink it in some program or whatever, download it, shrink it, and send it in a capacity that you can send it on email. If they stop you from sending it, find another way to do it. Because I tell you what, it's a people fight. It's ground force. It's you and me and us little ground force warriors that'll make the difference. It's not these big ones that we can keep thinking, eat the popcorn and wait for them to come and help. Honestly, I really think we have, and I've never, ever stopped fighting, because if you sit back and think someone else is going to win the fight for you, they're coming around the background doing the opposite. So you have to fight. You have to do this nonstop every day, all day. And you have to keep the momentum up. And a lot of people are saying, oh, no one's doing anything much in Maya anymore. There was a big happening meetings and rallies, and now there's not very much. Well, the more they put this vesicular stomatitis and chemtrails on us, the more dumbed down we get.
Exactly. I might call on Michael Gray Griffith to use his friendship with Sharon Liz Gunn in New Zealand. I don't have any contact with Liz. I think she's been basically told she can only talk to one person in Australia, and that'd be Michael. So I'm going to call Michael out and say, get this information to Liz as soon as, or Liz, if you ever hear of me, reach out. We will get it to you. It's vitally important that people like her, I'll make sure that 107 gets a look at it as well. I don't know that he'll do much with it, but, he's got other things, I suppose. But we will have Dr. Brian Artis. We will make sure that Peter McCullough gets it.
Anna Mahausha, all the scientists, every single scientist needs to get this document right now.
Is there a scientist in Australia that will stand up and represent? I wonder. Maybe I'll ask Malcolm Roberts. He knows a few of them. So.
Well, I did send it to David Nixon. I mean, he did them under blood microscopy here for 2 weeks with me, but 2 days, I mean. But but you know, it's still like, you know. You have to be a full-blown scientist. They're not. They've sort of moved into that realm a little bit, but they're not. Whether you need a lab, and this is where I did the interview with Loretta Bolgan in Italy, and she said that all the kids' vaccines are causing cancer. Period. And that was a massive thing. Whistleblower. It went in the whistleblower paper, 6 pages worth, about how all kids' vaccines were contaminated years ago, and don't vaccinate your children, like, because of the contaminants, a bit like the SV40, but it was like all cancer causing stuff and all the strains of things. They found 60 different things. They couldn't test what they were, and she should have been able to know everything in it. And one of them was exactly equivalent to an amphetamine. So she went to the police station to report it, because she said, I can't even test this because it's considered a drug, that level drug, that the police have to test this, not me.
Have to do it.
She got an incident number. They wouldn't do anything. They didn't do anything. They didn't get back to her. She took the whole project to a parliamentary inquiry. They did nothing about it. And then she took it to court because they did nothing about it. So she went to court with it, with all her findings. And she got privately funded because the public, you know, the government won't touch it. And she had to go, she said what they do is they get you to sequence here so you don't find anything. But when you're private, you can go and find a lot deeper and wider. Absolutely. And you find all this stuff. And she said, and they don't want to fund you or pay you. And you do it NDAs, and, like, you know, what happened to Robert Young, if you breach the NDA government because he was a statistician that breached the information, we took him to court, you know, blah, blah. But he didn't use names and stuff, but still, they'll cause big troubles. Well, she took it to court. She went through every level, and she said at the stage that I did the interview with her, which I hope everybody eventually gets to watch that on my Rumble channel. There is actually on my Rumble channel the parliamentary inquiry with her staff presenting it in English. You should all go there, about children's vaccine.
Just give us your Rumble channel again.
Donna Pike 2450 Rumble. Just go to rumble.com, and then in the search thing go Donna Pike 2450 all together. I think it's capital D, capital P, and then just lowercase the rest. And then just join my Rumble channel, and then look at all the videos in there, because there's all the people that spoke at the Freedom Festival. There is that one with Loretta Bolgan, scientist, her representative, which she did and it says how many viruses they found, what they found. It's all there. And if you take the time to listen to it, because it is quite long, it tells you your kids' vaccines are highly toxic. And we as scientists don't even know what's half in them. We can't even tell. Wow. And it's there. And then she took it to she told me she took it to the parliament and to the court, and she was waiting. It's been 5 years since she did that, and they still haven't got back to her.
God. Well.
They've ignored her.
I think we're going to wake a few people up with this one tonight.
This is gold. Yeah. It's gold. This is the answer this is the evidence we've been waiting for. This is the evidence that we need. And, you know, we need the right people to get this, because they can get in there and they can scientifically check it out, link it and prove it, and go, this is right, this happened. Find the documents, you know, the people that can hack them, Julian Assange, get into there, hack all those documents, get the names, get the real people that were involved with this that are blacked out in some of the areas, find out who was accountable, and then start bringing them to the table and having them in court cases and we could bring down so many people.
Yeah. Oh, God. Please let it happen. Donna, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been much more easily understood that you explained it rather than me. So I can't thank you enough for that. Thank you for all the tireless work that you've put in to come to this. And like I said before, I believe this is probably one of the, if not the most important show Voice of Freedom has ever had. And it wouldn't be possible in any way without you. So thank you.
Well, I'm pleased to do it. I don't believe in self-accolades of stuff. We're all here doing equal stuff. Your platform has done this tonight, so I thank you for being brave enough to do that, because it had to take a bit of bravery for me to come out and do this, even though I've never ever stopped, and I've always been full force and frontline, and nothing's ever stopped me, period. But it is a big thing, and when you have a platform and you step up like this, hats off to you for doing that, because there's some people that wouldn't, and this is why things don't happen. And this is why the really important things never get heard. You just hear, oh, la, 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 and topics that matter, but they're not really core important. This sort of stuff has to be given the focus and the time. Otherwise, we just keep going on the treadmill, the hamster wheel. We get on the hamster wheel of drama, but we don't actually get anywhere.
Well, I think a lot of people have suffered from the idea that we've been climbing this ladder for so long that there are no more rungs for us to climb. We don't know how to go any higher. Well, this has given us a whole new ladder.
Yes.
So this is amazing, amazing.
Yes, and I'm sure there's more out there, but we may not have come across it. But we've come across this one. So,
that's all right. We've woken up a lot more eyes now. A lot more people are going to start watching for it and looking for it. So
we've got them.
That's exactly what we need. And better still, I know 2 lawyers that are going to receive this tonight, and I'll be very interested to get their take on it, because they're the kind of ambulance chasers that you want on a job like this.
Excellent.
And we'll see whether or not there is a class action in this, and it could be a number of class actions. It could be for those who have suffered debilitation. There's those who have suffered death, and there are those that they've just tried it on with us.
Absolutely. This is something you can take into court and say, this was intent. This is what they used to vaccinate. I had no idea. Not only was there no informed consent, which Elizabeth Hart went through, but this was an intended, to harm.
And then there's all the Australian government documents that will be associated with this, and the introduction of it. Which we now know how to go looking for. Or at least we've got a path to go looking for. So,
well, it would have been the contract between the clinical companies that produced it. You know how all the governments had then their own contract, which was all redacted.
Yes.
You saw the UK one.
Yes.
It'll be that. But the thing, and they may or may not want to disclose that. We have to, and that's why they're trying to make it impossible to do for FOIs, for the government these days, because they're trying to not do that, because they don't want to give you the documents anymore. But this is already here. So if we get this and I've sent this to all the senators, I've sent it to all the politicians. Every single politician in Australia has received my email. So everyone out there, get onto your local members, get onto your politicians and say, why aren't you talking about this clinical data? Because they can't hide it anymore. They know.
Yep. Donna, thank you very much. Look forward to having you back on real soon, when we're going to talk more about this and hopefully about the court cases to follow.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
Hopefully we've got the answer to the freedom we all deserve and need, and to fix these people that are sick, to save our children in the future, and to turn this around, because we've got somewhere to hold them accountable in the court of law. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Donna. Thank you so much.
All right.
Donna Pike from Coffs Harbour. And folks, if you want a copy of that document, you can email me tonight, carl@vofhq.com, and I'll send you back the 13 pages that we've showed you tonight. I won't send you the 64 pages that I've got, which includes links and all sorts of stuff. I will put that up on the Voice of Freedom webpage just as soon as Vince wakes up. But he's had a pretty big weekend, I think, and he's needing a little bit of recovery time. So that will happen tomorrow. But if you want it tonight, if it's something you desperately want tonight, then email me, carl@vofhq, and I will attach this. It's not a Word doc. It's the other type, and I'll get it to you tonight. Don't know that it's going to help you sleep very well, which is a bit frightening and all. Some of this information is going to terrify many people. All right? Many people. I know some of you are probably pretty worried about it already, but you're probably worried about it from those who've gone out and willingly had themselves subjected to a medical experiment. Well, it now turns out, judging by the look of this, that it was no medical experiment. There was intent behind everything they did. And these documents prove it. was going to close with something about the dickheads on the roads, folks. It doesn't seem appropriate. Maybe we should close with something more like the murderers, the scientists in government that are doing this to us. Avoid them at all cost, unless we are putting a class action together to clean them out.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!